if we were standing around the LGBTQ plus water cooler, this is what we may all be talking about this week. It's sponsored by Hot Topic, and Hot Topic is an American retail chain with nearly 700 locations, specializing in counterculture-related clothing and accessories, as well as licensed music. Hot Topic represents many varied interests of the LGBTQ plus community, including music, movies, graphic artists, gaming, and more. Hot Topic features one of the largest collections of Pride merchandise in America that celebrates all aspects of the LGBTQ plus community, and Hot Topic is a major supporter of our diversity of the community and supports many events, festivals, and nonprofit LGBTQ organizations. Very notable is their support of the Trevor Project, the LGBTQ plus community's most important voice for LGBTQ plus young people. And that's why they are sponsor of It's Happening Out's Hot Topic. So here it is. Gay guys just want to have fun, even when they're older ones in a relationship. But interestingly, things seem to work differently in reality. One person told users at Reddit's gay community that he's, quote, scared of dating a younger guy because he doesn't want to feel the pressure of having to be more mature, the more responsible one, end quote. Another wrote in the popular thread, I, quote, I don't want to be someone's daddy. Using users, end quote, users sympathized with the posters by sharing similar stories. If it is true, it sucks, as it must be difficult to reject attractive guys just because they're younger in age. Our hot topic of the week. Are gay daddy issues real, as the older guy is the responsible one? What do y'all think?
It is really difficult. This is probably the worst part of my dating life. Is I feel like I've dated the same age group since I was like in my 20s, and it's not that I'm completely closed out to, you know, my own age, but I feel like they're my grandpa when like they're my own age. I don't know what it is, but whatever, it works out that way.
So you have to date younger.
So when I date younger guys, also I have this thing about like I'm gonna die, and so like I want to die first. So
you want to die first before you date someone? Okay,
no,
I got it. That makes sense.
In the relationship, but that's a whole other set of issues.
Like, you want to die first in the relationship.
That
yeah.
Therapy.
Yeah. But the thing with the younger guys, that of course they've got nice bodies, they look great, all of that stuff. I hate feeling like I am the dad in the relationship. Even though I'm Trinidadian, like I'm good with that in some dynamics, but not like in, you know, if I'm, I don't know, incapacitated. Like I want the other person to be able to handle business. And
You're
usually
thinking
guys
way too far in the future, though.
Well, we're talking about. I'm
need to
talking about like marriage or whatever,
Yeah.
or like serious relationships.
You need to assess your mental health pills, like for real.
No.
Like your
Are
shit's
you on
like all over the
Sertraline
place.
or
Like what?
Wellbutrin?
But hookup culture is a
Like
different
Supro,
thing.
is that what it is?
If we're talking
There's
about
different, right.
hookup is different.
Hookup culture is.
We're talking about relationships.
Relationship.
And I guess it would be weird if the older one wasn't the more responsible one.
They're not.
Wouldn't it be, or not?
Most of the time, they're not, though.
I know this gets into more than just responsibility. The thread basically discusses the dynamic of the age differences of somebody, and generally they're looking at 10, 20, even 30 years of difference in age dynamics. And it's not just the responsibility, it of course is money. It has the responsibility in terms of being able to make decisions, travel, you know, all kinds of related things.
In my experience, I have known certain older gentlemen that will stay, you know, nameless. He might be sitting to my left, right? And I'm very well aware that if you've got a black Amex card and a big penis, then you can have any young boy you want, okay? And the reason that most do that is because older guys seem to be a little salty sometimes, and they don't want to be with someone like that. And they also might be afraid of dying, or they might be afraid of getting older, so they want to get someone younger to keep them young, so to speak.
Yes.
It's interesting because like even like I'm 40 now. This was my 40th year, and my dating life has actually really changed because now I can either date the son or the dad, because I'm in that in between age gap where it's like, yeah, dating a 50-year-old, you know, is the same equivalent as dating a 30-year-old. You know, so it's kind of interesting in that dynamic, and I think the older you get, it changes that perspective because yeah, I can date, you know, go all the way up to 50 or go down to 30.
Why 30? Why not 20?
Because I'd like to keep
not 20?
I'd like to keep a 10-year age gap because at the end,
That's his question.
Why?
Tell me
Only
the
because I don't feel like I have the same things in common with a 20-year-old.
You haven't had the same experience.
thing. I won't have the
That's
same thing
so
in common with a
funny.
60-year-old.
I actually have the
think-
same thing. I have a 10-year. I have had a 10-year gap also. I always had. Now I have a sibling that's 10 years older than me, so that was always my ceiling of I don't want to date anybody older than that because it just felt weird. But you're right. The same applies for below as well because there is a certain below like
Below.
10
below.
and below,
How
right?
about you?
Blow.
Below,
We
right?
heard blow.
But the thing is that, I mean, for me, especially when it comes to dating, right? One of the things that's always been very important is common interests. And there is a time frame that you start extending beyond either up or down where you kind of get outside of that. And so for my own reason, like that's why when I dated and when I looked for people to date, that was a big part of it. Because there is physical is great and everything, all of that, but I need a person that I can like relate to, that we can actually talk about things, that we have things in common. And the few times that I would date somebody that was like a bit younger than me, it was just awkward. It was just very awkward.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the formula is half plus 7.
Hold
It's
on
not
just
10.
one sec, because
Half plus
Cameron, I want to
it's
fold
my
you in.
formula. It's
You're Gen Zer.
I
You're
am.
22? 23. Older, make any difference? Your age?
Go 10 years younger.
My longest relationship of 4 years was with a man over 20 years older than me. Unfortunately, in that regards, though, I did learn that, whether there's an age difference or not, generational trauma, inherited trauma, personal trauma, and, different aspects of insecurity really takes a toll.
Yours or his?
The other person's, for clarity.
They were insecure of you because of your age?
Not at all. I have my confidence because of my own traumas that I have resolved because I have the resources, the outlet, and the experiences that I had access to growing up with technology, growing up in an era where, technology was more scarce, didn't have access to, certain articles, resources, people. Some things don't get resolved in.
So why were you with him that long? Were you trying to fix him?
No, not at all.
Was he paying your rent?
No, not at all.
You don't want to be homeless? I mean, I know you don't have a job, so I'm
No, because I
wondering.
loved him. And he loved me. But things came into the play where things just didn't work out,
to work through your
unfortunately.
shit.
But moving on with dating other older men, I'm not one to say no to people my age, but on average, I do go for the older gentlemen. I like my steak seasoned, my wine aged. Don't make that face at me. Pull out the black card, then make that face at me. But what comes down to it is there a sense of maturity? It doesn't matter how old you are. People mature different ways. People mature at different rates. People learn and
I'm curious
grow.
for all of you, do you think what Reddit is exploring and the people that are posting, there's a lot of pain in the post in this thread.
There is.
There's lots of angst in this thread, which is one of the reasons we wanted to talk about it as our hot topic. Do you think it's different for LGBT, especially, let's zero in on gay men, because the Reddit is gay men. They're talking about that acronym letter. It's different for gay men than it is for straight men.
I do, but for a couple of reasons. So number one is we as a group, just in general, are not addressing a lot of things before we enter into these situations.
Correct.
We're just not. I mean, if you think about how much trauma the average gay man goes through from like childhood to adulthood, right? And then if you add on top of it older
Don't
gay men,
address our baggage
No.
before we
No.
get into these
it's not even baggage,
relationships.
it's pure trauma,
Yeah.
right? Think about an older, like, I think often about like older gay men, right? And not even like older gay men, like men in their 50s, right? Think about the things that they've already survived in terms of like the AIDS epidemic, loss of like your community, loss of your family and friends, like these people. And then you think to yourself that you're in this new age. And if you've been through war and you're sitting with a person who's never even been through like a fist fight, that's already a big mountain.
Do you all agree with that
Yeah.
it's different for gay men?
I agree,
than
but I
it
don't
is
think
for
that's a
straight
bad
men?
thing about it, because I don't
I don't think it's
Well,
bad.
think about straight men. They always have that midlife crisis where they go find a 20-something-year-old girl with
Yep.
fake boobs and a fake ass and get a Corvette, right?
But
Isn't
yes.
that similar to
so
that?
can we
How
talk
is it
about
hard?
being shallow? Because I'm going to put myself in this category. Trinidadi's a little shallow sometimes. So
And that's okay.
that's fine. So like I think that you like what you like. I think biologically we are programmed and to be fertile and beautiful more at a certain period in our life.
Yes.
But I will say this summer was my first experience. I met somebody 21 years younger than me.
Oh,
and
younger than you.
I never. I'm 43.
Okay.
I guess it would have been 22 years at that time.
Well, you look great.
So thank you. But it was the first time that I actually connected with somebody that, like, we had the most amazing experiences and times together, going on adventures all throughout Homestead.
Papi, you have to get
It
out
was
of Homestead.
wonderful.
You have to get out of Homestead.
And it was like
me.
the interesting thing was, but there was still that dynamic because he really admired me, and he definitely saw me as the older,
Daddy.
wiser,
Because you could be his
smarter guy. Yeah, and I used to joke. I'm like, I could be your father, but I don't see that.
That's the difference between men and women. A woman, okay, I get hit on all the time by younger girls, and I'm like, ID, hell no, gross. I could be your mom. That is disgusting. That motherly input comes up, and then it's just
We don't
sex
think
is off
that
the
way
table.
at all.
I know boys don't think that way. I'm just saying there's a difference.
You know, it's interesting to me because one of the things that I hear in this conversation that I bring to all of your attention and ask, is this true? Most of the context of what you talk about is related to physical attractiveness, which is generally speaking, a much younger representation of gay men. But that is really, you know, in terms of the shallow kind of observation, that's pretty shallow.
Thank you.
And I don't mean that from a negative standpoint.
But that's what gays do.
My experience, I've been to 147 countries in the world. I know Cal's experience. Yours is different at 40 than mine, but you're going to get there.
80.
And I could walk people through a capital on this planet, and in 6 hours you would go, holy crap, that's probably the best 6 hours I've ever had in my life. And I could do that in 25 capitals in the world. And maybe the 22-year-old doesn't understand the interest and value of that because they're so myopic of this just one thing.
In my case, what I loved was that this younger person wanted that experience, and I felt amazing being able to show them that experience. Be like, you've never seen this, you've never done this.
Did you
Let's
guys go
do
to
it.
But did you
winery
feel that way because
Homestead?
he was?
No.
But was he obsessed with you? Was that why you? Because
No.
you've never had somebody that has been so obsessed with you. Maybe
Spoiler
that's why you
alert,
like it.
he was straight
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, but I think it just takes a different type of personality.
So
A
you didn't
really
sleep with him?
mature 20, like something in the 20s, to appreciate like what they don't know and like want to learn more.
But
If
flip
they
the
have that, I
switch.
can do that.
Flip the switch. Now the young person takes the older person on experiences they never would have dreamed that they would have enjoyed or dreamed that they would have thought about doing. You know, things that they would say, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't think I like it. And the young person being like, well, just give it a try for me.
Exactly.
And then
Absolutely.
doing that.
Absolutely.
And then you
flip the
become the
switch.
old granddaddy at freaking Ramrod.
I'm the youngest daddy I know, frankly.
A different
So-
question that
Thanks, Mom.
that reflects on the general attitudes in this conversation, which is ageism. Do you think that we are as gay men, and again, I'm not talking about women, and I'm not talking about straight people. I'm talking about gay men, that we have significant hang-ups on ageism, and that we have to overcome that issue first and foremost.
Yes.
Until we move
Forever
to the
though,
next.
but that issue has been there forever since the beginning of gay time.
Half.
Like
Like,
that, you haven't worked through shit because you've been ageist forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's there, but I don't think it necessarily means that we have to get over it. I think that's just natural biology.
But it's not natural biology because here's the problem with that is that ageism in the way that it is, right? Because it puts up a wall, right? And it puts up a wall on both sides. So you have one generation that looks at people and we use the term daddy, right? Because a person is older. Now, I have friends that are in their 30s that are already complaining because people are calling them daddies. Now, if we think about it from a biological sense of that, there's no way that you're a 25-year-old's daddy, but that's part of the mentality that we've built up.
Why do you think that makes any difference to us? We're starting to worry about our age in our 30s. Why?
People
why are
worry
we
about their age
doing
in their
that?
20s,
I know,
Al.
but why? What's the tangible
Because
effect?
we are our particular the gay male world is obsessed with youth.
Yeah.
That is part of that
And
is
why?
why. Because it's part of everything.
It's because we're prettier when we're younger.
Culture. It's
That's
Peter
the
Pan.
truth.
It's
We're prettier when we're
wants to
younger.
grow
That's
up.
why.
Okay, once we looked at APA. Once you look at him and you go, okay, he's pretty, he's not pretty. Once you move after that, which takes 7 seconds, all of the other things fall into place. Once you're finished with that for 7 seconds, why don't we focus on you're interesting, you're funny, God, you're great in bed. You're traveled. You are financially independent. Whatever the standards are of the standards are of the standards are. Why don't we dismiss that immediately so we're done with that and we recognize it and then move on to the next thing?
Because most gay boys don't get that far. That's how come Grindr is so freaking successful.
Well,
Hello, I mean,
Is
please.
that then?
And we also
the
have
topic
friends.
Why we're so unhappy.
Yes. No, it literally is. I mean, for those of us that are older enough, we can remember pre-Grindr, right? It was already a shallow world before Grindr.
On Adam for Adam.
Right. All of these sites, right? Everything, if you think about it, right? This was all, like, when I started going out, right, it was like, I don't know, 99. Right? There was none of this. And even then, it was a shallow world. So then you take a shallow world and you put a social media on top of it that has now programmed our brains to be even more shallow and quick. And this is the thing. The swiping, the clicking, it swipes left and right.
We're getting killed by the marketing.
Yes.
Because even though people are saying, oh yeah, age doesn't matter, but your filter is under 40.
Yes.
So age does
Here's
matter.
the thing.
It's instant.
Are we making an assumption that in the 30s you're any better at sex than you are in your 60s?
No.
No.
Not at
You could
all.
be a
Wait.
bad F and it doesn't matter.
But
okay?
you don't
It's-
want to date somebody that looks like your parent. Most people don't, straight or gay.
But some people do.
Unless they have, well, there's a lot of people that have unresolved issues, but then there are other people who don't have unresolved issues, and they just,
But it's not just
they're fine
issues,
with
right?
that.
It is a level of attraction, right? One of my closest friends, when he was in his 20s, he dated somebody that was in their late 50s, right? To outside people, they thought it was strange. They're still together. It's been 8 years now, right? And so what everyone thought of is like, oh, that's weird, and that's kind of, clearly they love each other.
Right.
But the thing is that we are putting that perception on top of other people. And that then makes those people alter their perception of the scenario too. So then you do have older men who are afraid to date younger men because they sit there and say, well, why are they with me? What is the reason that they're with me?
Because they're
I
using them a lot of the time.
Do you
It's the
think-
exception rather than the rule.
Okay, do you think because we are putting these artificial boundaries on ourselves, we are impeding our own joy and happiness?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, why do we do
Don't put boundaries. I mean, you explore.
But
Well,
why?
ourselves in every-
Why?
Conversation
Because
says we
the gay
do.
community is superficial.
Nobody hates the gays more
Bang.
than the gays do.
The gay community is nothing
You know,
but boundaries.
for a community
True.
that,
Hit the bell.
doesn't like labels, we create labels for everything.
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 Even our intros.
You can literally have a friend that loses weight and then says, "What am I now?"
Yeah.
Because
No,
we have a
totally.
category
Yep.
for it.
You know,
Totally.
I just want to say, from the
different-
standpoint of, I have trouble with this conversation because I have trouble identifying with this conversation. I don't know if it's a confidence issue. You know, I'm by far the oldest person at this table. I don't know if it's a confidence issue. I don't know if it's an experience issue. I don't know if it's a financial issue. I am willing to bet I'm more sexually active than anybody at this table.
Probably.
I have a 35-year marriage, and while we're not together, and I'm married, a longevity of boyfriend, and then many friends all over the world. And my confidence, right, is my confidence. And it's like, wait, we're going to have a really good time because I'm going to want to learn about you, and I'm going to make sure that you're going to enjoy learning about what I can.
And you're okay with people taking advantage of you sometimes, Al, because you're getting something out of it too.
Yeah.
Understand that big penis, black Amex card, super well traveled, all these things. People are like, yeah, I want a piece of that, so I'm gonna hang out with
But let
you.
me ask you, Al, when you were 25, were you saying, you know what, I'm going to give the 65-year-olds a chance, the 55-year-olds a chance? It only works one way.
Yeah, that's true. But not in the way that you say. I was so dumb at 25, I didn't realize how dumb I was. It wasn't that I wasn't willing to explore those opportunities. I was too stupid to realize I should be exploring those opportunities.
I went
you
out
weren't
with a bunch of old men because they paid my rent. Okay, I guess I was a smarter 20-something-year-old than
Yeah,
you were
see, I
because
wasn't.
you know.
Pop off, queen.
But that's the thing. But that's the environment, right? It's once again, it's back to the boundaries, right? You grow into, as soon as you graduate from high school, you have gone into the categories.
Well, I want to wrap up the conversation. To simply say, what I hear in this conversation and what Reddit's, the gay Reddit thread explores is we hold ourselves back.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. And it's painful for all of us. And the first way for us to move forward in a better way is to recognize that we're doing that, because you can't tell me what I should like or not. And the moment you do, you're harming me. And the moment I allow that, you're harming me. That's what I heard over and over.
But it's like the boys said, the gays are our own worst enemy.
Yes.
When you're
Nobody
talking
hates the
25 to
gays more than
35,
gays.
that's a mental issue that people have to deal with.
Are
It's like
you
10
shocked?
years
And
ago.
I wanted to say
But-
this repeatedly.
Go ahead.
Oh, we've had this conversation about you. Cal is a catch and a half. Catch and a half. We've talked about this. The joke about on the show where somebody said, "Oh well, say you work at IHOP," and your response to that. Trini, you're in your 40s. Does it shock you that there's 20-year-olds that'll go, "Oh, child, there's no way I'm going to give you the light of day"?
No, and I'm totally cool with that.
Wait,
Rejection
I'm
is
not.
rejection.
I'm not, because you're a very, from what I know, and
Well, nobody
what I've
thinks I'm in their 40s
experienced.
by meeting me, but which is honestly a part of the situation why I like a lot of younger guys approach me, because they don't think that I'm as old as I am. But even if they did, I don't fault them at all for that.
Ageism. That's like
I'm cool with it.
That's
Yeah,
like
but ageism is not good,
That's like somebody being very whitish, but being black and going, "Oh, I didn't think you were black."
Dude, there's some people who are into redheads and big boobs, and that's their thing. Whatever people's things are, it's their thing.
It's a
Have
very
you met Auntie Mame, actually?
right, exactly. It's a very interesting subject.
Vote.
That's our hot topic of the week. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.